Welcome and congratulations on your admissions to the EdD program at the Johns Hopkins University School of Education. My name is Satrice Rigsby, and I am an Associate Director in the Financial Aid Operations Division of what is called the Student Enrollment and Account Management, which if you've probably had anything to do with submitting any questions, you will probably have heard it referred to or will hear it referred to as SEAM. So whenever you hear SEAM, that's what that means, Student Enrollment and Account Management. And again, my office, I work within the Financial Aid Operations team. Specifically, I am the Associate Director for Outreach and Communication. So generally speaking, if you're submitting case tickets to ask questions or getting emails, it's probably me or somebody on my team who is communicating with you. So we're going to jump right in. So if you have already been admitted to the program, you've probably been notified of any scholarship eligibility from the institution. I think there's an EdD Online Merit Award. You've probably been notified of that already. And whatever you have been awarded, or if you were not given an online merit scholarship, you do have additional financial aid options, and most of them will be within the federal financial aid options. And at the graduate level, most graduate students are eligible for the federal direct unsubsidized direct loans or the federal direct grad plus loans. So I imagine if you're at this level, you've probably had applied for financial aid in your undergraduate or even for a master's or postmaster's certificate program, or probably another doctoral degree program. So you probably might be familiar with it. But if this is your first time this is your first rodeo, graduate students are typically eligible for up to $20,500 in federal direct unsubsidized Stafford loans each academic year. So if you spend 2 to 3 years in each program, in this program, you'll get $20,500 in unsubsidized direct loan in your first year. And then the next year, you'll receive $20,500 in your next year, and then $20,500 in your next year. Now, there is a lifetime limit of, I think, a total of $138,500. And if you haven't borrowed before, you probably don't need to worry about it. But if you have borrowed considerably, you might have a limit on how much unsubsidized direct loans you may be eligible. But in any event, in addition to the $20,500 unsubsidized direct loans, students are eligible to apply for the Graduate Plus direct loan. And that can cover any expenses over the $20,500, which include expenses such as tuition and fees, indirect expenses if you need to buy books, supplies, and living expenses. So who is eligible to apply for federal student aid? Well, you have to be a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. The federal student aid website does has a list of eligible non-citizen if you need to check who applies, who is eligible, and who is not. You also have to be enrolled in at least a half-time status in any given semester that you wish to receive the direct unsubsidized direct loan or grad plus loan. And at Hopkins, half-time is considered being enrolled in at least 4.5 credits. There's also an eligible non-resident status, which I don't think you can apply for until later in your program, usually the last 1 or 2 semesters, but you can be eligible for federal direct loans in that status as well. And since you're all been admitted, you are eligible because you're in a degree-seeking program, which is the EdD program. So if you have not already, you will need to complete the free application for federal student aid or the FAFSA, and that is online at the studentaid.gov website. And you'll just need to include our federal school code, E00475. And what you will also need to complete is the SOE planned enrollment form, and that is available to you in SIS, or the Student Information System for Johns Hopkins. You may have already received a JED activation. So when you get your JED activation and you activate your JED ID, as we call it, you'll be able to log into SIS, and under the financial aid section of SIS, you'll be able to go in and complete the SOE planned enrollment form. Now, if you've been trying to access the financial aid portal of SIS before today, you probably weren't able to access it, but it has been turned on for students in 23-24, so you should be able to fill that out starting today. Now, if you are not eligible for federal student loans, either because you don't expect to be enrolled at least half-time or because you are not an eligible non-citizen, you can do private student loans, and you can submit it. We have a Johns Hopkins University has a website called the Elm Select Lender Marketplace. And these are just places, lenders whose previous Johns Hopkins students have borrowed from in the past. So we're not making any distinction and saying we don't get kickbacks for sending students to any lender. You're definitely welcome to choose any lender that you want, or you can do your own independent search for any private lenders. But that is a resource that is available to you for private student loans. And I will say that private student loans, they may or may not be a good fit for you depending on how long you intend to the life of a loan. I think I had a student ask a couple of weeks ago in another virtual seminar, is there any benefit over, taking out a private student loan? I would say look at the interest rates, because some of the federal student loans interest rates, especially for the unsubsidized curriculum, they're getting pretty high lately, and the private student loans are almost a little bit competitive with those. So if you don't anticipate spending a long time paying back your student loans, you may wish to consider taking out a private loan, because over the life of a loan, as the interest will accrue on a federal student loan, if it goes into deferment, or while you're in school, or for other reasons, it might actually be a bigger loan balance for a federal student loan over a private student loan, especially if you anticipate paying off your private student loan really, really quickly. Now, if you have outside scholarships or private scholarships from like private organizations, or your employer is going to be paying on your behalf, you can arrange a third-party payment with the student accounts office, or you can do a payment plan to pay out of pocket as you go. Now, like I said, I was in the Student Enrollments and Account Management Financial Aid, and we have a website, scene.jhu.edu. And I will say a little bit more about Student Enrollment Accounts Management. That actually includes, our organization includes, I think, 4 verticals, so to speak. We are comprised of a financial aid vertical, which is where I work. And then there's registration, student accounts, and then there's also the student support team. And they're also the student support team. They primarily work at these locations at the Homewood campus, the Washington, D.C. campus, and the East Baltimore campus. So if you're local to the D.C. area or the Baltimore area, you're more than welcome to stop by any of these student support locations, and somebody will be there to help you in person. I will say that the Washington, D.C. campus this summer, they're relocating from DuPont Circle to the old museum, or what was once the museum, and that's going to happen over the summer. So if you are in D.C., you may want to call ahead this summer to verify that they're open and are able to take students in person. Now, if you are not local to the DC or Baltimore area, you can also contact us by submitting cases online. I think a lot of students expect to see a email address. This is how we don't have emails for student cases for registration, student accounts, or financial aid. You submit questions through this portal, the SEAM student case management system. And basically it's just a quick and monitored way for how we follow up with students. If you've already submitted questions through here, you're probably familiar with it, but you can just log in with your JET ID. And I think student support will answer the easy questions, and whatever they can't answer, my team will actually be around to take those questions, and they'll escalate to us, and we'll be able to troubleshoot issues with financial aid. And you will also be able to ask questions if you have questions about a third-party payer agreement or a payment plan, or you have questions about registration. This is where you will also want to submit those questions as well. And there's also a way I'm going to go back one slide. If you go to the scene.jhu.edu, you can also schedule virtual visits with any of the student support specialists to discuss anything from registration to financial aid to student accounts. There are student support specialists you will be able to set up a virtual session to meet with somebody one-on-one. We can do that as well. So I had a very short presentation. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess I am welcome to take questions now. So I have one question that is, does this apply to international students? International students, particularly if you're on an F1 or J1 visa, probably would not be eligible for federal direct loans. However, you might be eligible for some private student loans, depending on your situation. Okay. And now with international students for private student loans, they probably might ask for, or lender might ask for a co-signer in a lot of events for international students. I do know that might be an actual thing. So what do you do if you log into SIS, click on the online forms tab, and you don't see the complete application form? So I'm assuming that's the SOE planned enrollment form. So I don't think it'll be there. You should be able to log in. When you log into SIS and go into financial aid, you should click a link that says view financial aid, and it will take you to a site called Net Partner. And that's actually where it will be located, the SOE planned enrollment form. Let's see. That is where that will be. The SOE. So you won't see it under the online forms. It'll be in the View Financial Aid Net Partner portal for the SOE planned enrollment form. No. Okay, so I have a question. I received a grant from JHU and I also have tuition remission. Do I have to fill out the FAFSA too? No, you do not have to fill out the FAFSA if you do not want to. It is only if you wish to be eligible for federal student aid, which in most cases is going to be the direct unsubsidized loans or the graduate plus loans. Let me see. I am seeing. I see a question. What is the cost? Let's see. What is the cost of tuition per year? I will give you a heads up that tuition sometimes raises. I think they raise the tuition. I don't think they lock it in every year. I think it goes up just a little bit every year. And I'm going to look that up for you right now since I have the website open. So for the EdD program, what I am seeing, and this is all online at the School of Education's website, I'm seeing for the year 2023-2024, it is $1,900 per credit. And I'm seeing this on the Johns Hopkins University School of Education, the tuition for academic year 23-24. What about grants or fellowships? The admissions office, I'm under the impression that the admission office makes the decisions for grants or fellowships for at least institutional aid. So I think that may have gone out. They would have been the ones who decided on it and notified you of eligibility for grants and scholarships. Like I said, my team, the SEAM financial aid team, we primarily deal with federal direct loans or private student loans. I earned my MED from JHU. Will this cause issues when applying for loans? No, it should not cause issues applying for loans per se. Generally speaking, like I said, it only really impacts your eligibility for student loans, at least the unsubsidized direct loans, if you are reaching the aggregate lifetime borrowing limit for subsidized and unsubsidized loans, which is $138,500. And if you're nowhere near that amount, you should be fine. Yes. Are there payment plans each semester? So payment plans are actually managed by the Student Accounts Office, but I'm going to go ahead and give my best idea shot on what the answer is. And if you don't trust my answer, you are more than welcome to submit a SEAM ticket at the student support website. But yes, they do offer payment plans every semester. I think they're about in four payment installments. So I think 4 installments per semester. If you haven't paid your enrollment deposit yet, can you still see it? I'm assuming, can you still see the login to SIS? It's based on, your access to SIS will be based on your activation. on the JET activation. So as long as you've been activated, your JET has been activated, you should be able to log into SIS to view any of the financial aid portals. I am currently an international student, but may go into permanent residency status. Would that change my eligibility for scholarships and financial aid? I can only speak for the federal student aid part on that again, but yes, it would. If you do become a permanent resident, you would be eligible for federal student aid, either the unsubsidized direct loan or the graduate plus loan. Yes, in my merit scholarship, I was told to go to a menu item under the financial aid tab that was not there, the accept awards tab. Should I just wait a bit longer? Yes, we have not turned that portion of the financial aid portal on just yet. I think we'll probably be turning it on within the next couple of weeks, probably by the end of next week, hopefully. So I'm assuming that it is, but there's no form. Yeah. I'm gonna take your name, trying to access the, I think the planned enrollment form. And I'm gonna follow up with you privately. Okay. Besides tuition, what fees are associated with this program? Let me see. That is a very good question. Again, I think they have some fees posted on the admissions financial aid tuition fees. I'm going to be careful on what I say because I'm not in student accounts and I don't charge fees. I just give you money to pay for those fees. So I think there are registration fees. I don't know if EdD students have to pay those fees, and there may be late registration or late payment fees and all the such. Like there may be lab fees, but I guess that depends on what courses you may be registered for. And I think the course descriptions usually list if there are any lab fees associated with it off the top. Do I know when we will be able to accept our grant through SIS? I think you'll be able to do that within the next couple of weeks. So you should be on the lookout for that and those notifications. And when that is ready, we will send you a notification by email that you can accept it. Okay, so I will disregard that last comment about, I'm assuming you found access to that form, so that is great. How much should we budget for books per year? Well, it depends on your courses. Without being too overly knowledgeable on what the courses are and what kind of course materials they typically assign for each course at the individual level. But in the financial aid office, we do somewhat set an average budget across the division of how much students should expect to pay each semester for books. Last year, it was about $750. Will you actually use that for books and supplies? I don't actually know, but that's what we've estimated it at for financial aid purposes. Will the endowment scholarship be available next year for those who were not selected this year? So I think my office actually doesn't handle that scholarship application, but my understanding is that they do make that application available. I'm just going to double check something on the website really quickly. I do see that they have a separate process for applicants for applying for the endowed scholarships for new applicants. So you guys coming in new, and there is a separate application for current students. So I think you are eligible to apply again next year, but don't quote me on that because I actually don't manage that application process. I think the admissions office does, but I'm not certain. So you should click on, so the Net Partner screen reads, all financial aid recipients must complete the SOE plan enrollment form accessible from the application screen. Where is the application screen? That's a very good question. You should be able to, if you click on the menu in the upper in the upper left-hand corner, there should be a menu option for the application screen. At least I hope there is. But if there's not, we can troubleshoot that and see if we can get y'all to access that. Is it possible to look up how much we have previously borrowed? Yes, if you have a federal student aid account, you should be able to see how much you have actually borrowed. Because I know in my account, I could see how much I borrowed in my undergraduate. So you should be able to access that in federal student aid. And sometimes if you do complete the FAFSA, I do think they give you a summary of what your previous borrowing is, because when you submit the FAFSA, it's Department of Education. They have access to your information as well. They know how much you borrowed as well. How do you accept a scholarship award in NetPartner? Right now, you will not be able to accept a scholarship award in NetPartner, but when that does happen, when you are able to accept the award in NetPartner, there will be another screen under the menu that says accept awards, and you'll just go to that screen and it will show your awards and you'll be able to accept it there. But we have not yet turned that part of the NetPartner financial aid portal on just yet. We expect to turn that on in the next couple of weeks. How soon will we know if registration fees are applicable to the EdD program? Again, that is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it's a registration. You can check on the tuition and fees page of the School of Education website. I think registration fees are charged when you register for classes. So if you have already registered for classes, you would probably see those registration fees in your student accounts on your tuition statement by now. But double check. You can submit a question to the student accounts team through the student case management system to verify if registration fees are applicable to EdD students in your registrations. Are there any sites you can suggest for scholarship grants for doctoral students? I would say any general Google search is a good place to suggest. I think there's like FastWeb in a lot of places, but for doctoral students, I would just recommend doing a general search for grants at the doctoral level. And depending on what your field is, and I guess in the education field, you should also start with, I guess, private foundations and whatnot that probably have a specialty in whatever it is you might be specializing in. Like if it's admin work or, a certain field of study, math, or a subject area, I would say start there. So a general Google search is where I would start. Does the question, if you or your spouse are a JHU employee, please list the amount of tuition benefit for which you're eligible. Refer to the annual amount. I'm not sure if this is asking whether or not you intend to use it or if you're just eligible for that amount. Because typically with this, I guess the planned enrollment form, and when you put that information in, when students, if you put in an answer, we're going to assume that you're actually going to redeem that benefit at some point in the year. So if you do intend to actually make use of it, it's good to put it in there. But if you don't have any intention of making use for it, you don't have to include it. So whatever amount you want to, because I do know that there's kind of a, depending on if you've taken classes elsewhere at Hopkins or used the benefit elsewhere at non-Hopkins divisions, it might be more or less than the actual annual amount. When can you start registering for classes? That's a very good question that I actually do not know the answer to. I think that you can refer to the academic calendar online at the School of Education's website to see when registration opens for EdD students. I have seen summer 2023 registrations open, students for summer 2023. I don't know if that's all, if you guys will be registering for summer 2023 classes, or if you're not going to start until the fall. I think you do start in the fall, but whenever fall registration opens per the academic calendar, I understand that that is when you will be able to register. Awesome. Thank you for that answer. First year students register in August after the orientation. Thank you very much for that. So generally, when is the August orientation? Orientation. They updated. Okay, they have the 23-24. I'm just going to look at the 23-24 calendar. I am not sure. Yes, somebody has said orientation is July 17th through the 18th. Thank you very much for that. I thought we had to register in order to accept financial aid, which is due by April 28th. Your registration status won't impact your financial aid eligibility. Like we haven't put the awards in the financial aid portal just yet for you to accept, but you will be able to do it before the 28th. Is anyone else seeing a College Board screen? I do understand that I'm not sure where that would be at, but I do know that NetPartner and our financial aid system is. Are you talking about on my screen? Probably so. That was probably so. That was my financial aid portal that I had logged out. And I think you're not seeing it anymore. Any last comments, questions, or concerns? Again, we'll have the accept award screen up within the next couple of weeks. So you'll be able to log in well before the 28th. Is there any way to confirm that JHU has successfully received our completed FAFSA? Yes, if you log into SIS, we would actually have your FAFSA. If you look on your to-do list in the financial aid portal, you will see that we have received your FAFSA if it has been successfully received. If you're not seeing it there, then we haven't received it. If that is all, I'm going to do, remember, you can go to sing.jhu.edu if you have any additional questions, and we will be able to follow up with you if you have any additional questions or if you think of any new questions after we end this webinar. So thank you very much for attending. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope to see you in the future when you start in Hopkins at the fall.